Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, April 4th. Kind of a cool morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region, and on average it looks like a relatively cool week across much of the eastern U.S. Now, across the nation, so far we've had more than normal severe weather outbreaks for this stage of the spring season, and it looks like we're going to have a continuation of some cold air outbreaks into the U.S. from Canada over the next few weeks. That, unfortunately, will continue the threat of severe weather outbreaks. It looks like it'll generally be a cooler than normal week in the eastern part of the nation. The next week warms up to above normal conditions, but then we probably fall back to colder than normal conditions for the following week. And as long as we get these cold air outbreaks, we will continue to have the threat for some severe weather. It really takes, first and foremost, a clash of air masses with colder air, usually cold and dry air, moving in from the northwest, clashing with warm and humid air down around the Gulf of Mexico or the Central Plains or the south central part of the nation, wherever. You really have to start off with that cold air influx coming in from the north and west, and unfortunately it looks like that will continue for a while. Let's start off by looking at the Canadian ensemble run, and what we're looking at are 5-day averages of, in this particular case, 850 millibar temperature anomalies. This is the current 5-day period, and I just want to again emphasize that while this week looks maybe a little bit cooler than normal in the east, gets warmer than normal next week, the following week likely turns colder than normal, and again continues an active weather pattern with some more severe weather outbreaks. This is the next 5 days. Let's keep moving forward in 5-day increments. The core of the coldest air, by the time we get to the 7th right here to the 12th, this is days 4 to 8, the coldest core of this air will be down across the Tennessee Valley. Notice how warm it is out across the southwestern states in this particular 5-day period. Then that moves on and it starts to dramatically warm up next week in the eastern and central part of the nation. This is now out days 9 to 13, which happens to be the middle of the month, straddling the middle of the month, April 12th to April 17th. But look at out here, more cold air, and certainly that is the continuation of the pattern here. While we may have a warmer than normal week in the east and the central at this particular time, next week it'll turn colder again beyond that. Let's move forward here as far out as we can go. This is days 12 to 16, the 15th to the 20th. Much colder than normal conditions throughout a large portion of the U.S. And this just sets up battle zones here between maybe this departing warm air in the southeast and the incoming cold air to the north and west. Again, this likely will continue our quite frequent severe weather outbreaks. So far they've been focused on the deep south, Tennessee Valley, and again it's largely due to these clash of air masses with the colder air coming in just like this from the north and west, and warm humid air coming in off the Gulf of Mexico into the deep south. Well, how does this translate to the 500 millibar height anomalies? Again, we're looking at 5-day averages from the ensemble run of the Canadian model. This is the current 5-day period. A deep low centered over the upper part of the Midwest and a strong ridge along the west coast of the U.S. As we move forward here, it slides to the east. Again, generally on the cool side of normal in the east for the next 6 or 7 days or so. Then it flips all of a sudden, and it literally just comes out of nowhere here. We have kind of a neutral condition here in days 6 to 10, and then a ridge pops up. Again, remember these are averaged over 5-day periods. So bottom line here, a ridge in the east next week, then cold upper level low situated over the Pacific Northwest next week. So here we flip, but that's not the end of the cold air outbreaks for the central and eastern U.S. We go all the way out here to days 12 to 16. Again, this is the middle part of the month, April 15th to April 20th. We have a deep upper level trough setting up over the middle of the country, and that certainly looks like it'll expand into the eastern U.S. So generally on the cool side this week in the east, warmer next week, and then cooler again the following week. And again, continuation of these cold air outbreaks from Canada into the U.S. will very likely continue severe weather threats across the nation, at least parts of the nation, for the next few weeks. Well, let's now look at the surface maps. This is using the operational run of the GFS from 0Z last night, and we have a soaking rain event coming to the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily focused on tomorrow night, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. More rain later in the week, a very active weather pattern for the next several days in the eastern U.S. And by the way, starting off today, we have some significant snow and cold air out across the Pacific Northwest. All these higher elevation locations in Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, getting some substantial snow, and cold enough this morning for some snow across the northern portion of the Great Lakes. Again, cold air is still around. We don't have necessarily a severe weather outbreak this week like we've had the last couple of weeks, but that threat continues here. And here we go now into tomorrow, and again, we will have to watch for some possible strong thunderstorms down across the deep south on Tuesday. I don't think this will be quite as severe of an outbreak as we had last week or the prior week, but again, possible strong thunderstorms down across Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia on Tuesday. That area of moisture then pushes up to the north and east, and it looks like a pretty soaking rain event for the Mid-Atlantic region from late tomorrow, especially tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. And that kicks on out of here, but it won't be long afterwards where we have more showers pushing into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley by Wednesday evening, and then into the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic by the time we get to Thursday morning. Thursday itself turns out to be quite a damp day here in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Northeast U.S. And again, enough cold air for some snow across southeastern Canada, all the way into the upper part of the Midwest here, Minnesota, Wisconsin, getting some snow here. This is Thursday midday time period, and a lot of wind. Notice these isobars very tight here. We have a strong low pressure area come midday Thursday, centered over the northern Great Lakes, and a Canadian high out across the southern part of Canada, and that will result in very strong winds associated with snow in Minnesota and Wisconsin midday on Thursday. That colder air mass drops into the eastern states by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Unsettled atmosphere with all that cold air aloft. This is the Friday evening forecast map. Let's just now quickly go beyond the chill of the weekend in the Northeast into the early part of next week and watch what happens here. Now you see these dashed red lines, warmer air advancing dramatically by the time we get to a week from now, next Monday morning, first into the middle part of the nation, and then by the middle of the week, certainly into the eastern part of the nation, we get this warm up again. We're now out a week plus 1 day, out 8 days now to next Tuesday, and I just want to go out a couple more days and show that by the time we get to the middle part of next week, indeed, we have another cold air mass dropping from Canada into the northwestern part of the nation, starts to move across the central plains. Eventually, that'll work its way back into the eastern U.S. So kind of a topsy-turvy pattern over the next few weeks in terms of temperatures. In the east, for example, on the cool side this week, warmer than normal next week, and then probably cooler again the week after that. And as long as we get these cold air outbreaks, the threat for severe weather will continue, at least across parts of the nation, for the next few weeks. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.